Hello everyone, it's Glenda and welcome back to my channel, Creative Grandma. It's yarn swatch time and it's been a while since I've done a yarn swatch, but a brand new yarn come out by Premier called Premier Just Yarn Ombre. And I showed it to you the day it was released because I was so surprised I didn't even know this yarn was being released. And I was really excited about it. So this video, I'm going to talk in depth about the yarn. I'm going to tell you what I think of the yarn, and I'm going to show you each yarn worked up but one. Because when I was setting up my table, I worked really hard the last 2 days trying to get my samples done up, got everything ready to film, and realized I'm missing a sample. I forgot to work up one of the colors, but I will show you 9 of the colors worked up. So let's get started. I'm going to tell you about the yarn, and then we'll get into in-depth about the yarn, what I think, but I'll show you the samples first, and then I'll really tell you what I think of the yarn versus other brands. So let's get started. This is the Premier Just Yarn Ombre. It comes in a 612 yard, 560 meters, 9.8 ounces, 280 grams. It's 100% acrylic. Now, it does tell you to buy enough of the same dye lot when you're making a project if you don't want to see a little bit difference in the tone of the colors. It's machine wash and dryable, and it's classified as a number 4 weight yarn. Now, working up my samples, it did not feel like a 4. It was a thin 4. It was kind of like a 3.5. It was kind of like a little heavier than a 3, but not quite a nice plump 4. So I'm going to say it's a 3.5, kind of thin. The yarn is twisted really tightly, which does give it a little bit of a rougher feel. So let me get that up there. Hopefully you can see how it's spun. It might not show up. I'll get it up there close. Hopefully you can see it, or if you can see it on the skein. So this color, I used some of it. So let me grab one of the new skeins. I have it here, and absolutely love that these are in plastic. I can't say enough about that. So this is the Azure. It's color 2141-04. And when you look at the end of the skein, you can see how those colors change. And then my sample, this is the mesh stitch. Now, I did think this was pretty. I know they go from light to dark, but this dark one right here just kind of didn't blend in. These blend in so nice. So some of these I noticed when I was crocheting them up. I did try to use a couple different stitch patterns, but I think about half of them, they kind of had like one color that I just wish wasn't there. So I'm going to show you this sample, and then maybe you can judge what I mean. So here's the sample. So you can see how it's going from light to medium to the darker. And then there's like this really dark strip here. And maybe it's because this is a small sample, it's kind of narrow. Now, maybe if you're doing like a wider project and you're just getting one row of that dark color, but it just seemed out of place to me. But some people might like that dark color. And then you can see how the colors were going to start reversing. Like once you get to the dark, then it's going to reverse and come back down through these colors. So that is the first sample. Now, when Premier released these yarns, the first thing I thought was, oh my goodness, they resemble Red Heart Super Saver colors. They really are different. It was just my first opinion when I seen them. It was kind of like a shock because I didn't know they were coming out. And then when I looked at the colors, they did resemble, but they are different. So the closest one I have in my stash is Red Heart Super Saver Ombre in the color True Blue. So you're going to see this, and then these are lighter blues, but just to compare, this is the Azure Ombre from Premier. So you can see the difference between the two. This is darker, and this is lighter. So you can see the difference. They are different. Hopefully you can see that. So the next color I purchased was the Burgundy Ombre. This is color 2141-01. You can see those colors. Now, I was really surprised because when I seen these colors, I thought I would really notice the difference when I worked it up. And then when I worked up my sample, I was very happy with it because the burgundies seem to really blend together. So this is the stitch pattern called Cross My Stitches. I just did the video on it. Now, I didn't work up the whole skein. It would have took me a couple weeks to make full skein samples. So I just done enough so you could see how the colors blended together. I was very happy with this burgundy, and burgundy is not one of my favorite colors that I use, but I thought this was really pretty. Look how those colors blend. I see no colors that don't belong, just a very nice sampling of blending of colors. So I was very happy with that. Hopefully you can see that okay. Let me get it up there. So that is the Cross Your Stitches stitch pattern. I think it was Stitch of the Week number 142. So that's what that sample looks like. And again, I was very happy with the burgundy. Out of all the colors, I would have never thought I'd like the burgundy, and I really was happy with that. The next color I bought 12 skeins of this because I thought I loved that color, thought it would make a beautiful Afghan, so I will be making an Afghan with this yarn. This is color Turquoise Ombre, color 2141-05. So there it is on the skein. Now, this stitch pattern, I used the double crochet V-stitch. So you can see how it has, here's a color, here's a lighter color, here's a lighter color. And then what I didn't like was the short color burst right here. Like if I was making an Afghan, would that color even be long enough to get across the row? So I was a little concerned about that with how they put these colors together. But it all depends on the stitch pattern you're using. It may look completely different depending on what stitch pattern you're using. So this is just an example of what it would look like in this stitch pattern. So keep that in mind when you're looking at these. So again, when I look at this, it goes to the medium, to the light, to the mediums, and then it's going into the dark. And I should have worked up a little bit more because this is one where I did not like that dark color through the yarn. It just looked out of place. If that wasn't there, then I would really love this. I just did not like that really dark streak in that color. But that's what I'm saying. If I'm making a wider blanket, it would probably just be one row. And then these colors down here, you might not even get across the row. So that was my one concern. Now, I love this color. I think they're beautiful color blues. It's just how they did like this wide burst of color and then this tiny, tiny burst, and then like they're different lengths of color, which I know they're trying to create the ombre effect. But with this sample, I just wasn't sure. And then it was like, do I want to make a blanket with this color, or do I want to choose one of the other colors that I think the colors blend better together? So that's what I'm going to work on. I'll decide once I start playing around with my stitches and the yarn. And then I did have a blue that kind of resembles the ombre from Premier. So this is the Premier Turquoise Ombre. And then this one is the Red Heart Super Saver in Scuba. So you can see why when I first seen them on the website, I thought they looked really close. They do resemble them, but they are completely different. And if I turn them this way, then you can see that dark blue over here in the just yarn, how that just kind of stands out. And I really like to emphasize that when you see these stitch patterns, it doesn't really reflect on the yarn, because you could use a totally different stitch pattern and it could look gorgeous. So just keep that in mind when you get these ombres, no matter whether they're Premier or Red Heart or one of the other brands. You have to play around with your stitches to get the perfect stitch to go with the perfect yarn. Now the next color I purchased was the Fuchsia Ombre. This is color 2141-03. So there's the colorway. Now, I thought I had this in the Red Heart Super Saver, but I must have used it all. I don't have a sample to compare it, but it does look sort of like the Red Heart Super Saver in that fuchsia pink. So let's take a look at my sample. Now I was doing the double crochet V-stitch because it worked up so quickly, and I really wanted to get this video done and show you some samples of how it looks worked up. Now this again, this is going to show you the difference of the colorways. Like here, you're going to see this colorway here, and then you're going to see a little bit thicker light, and then this smaller medium, and then you're going to go into the other pinks and then back to the light. Now this right here, I did not like how this was really light and it just had a stark look to it when it changed colors. I wish it could have been blended with maybe a little bit in between this color, between this color and this color, just have a different color to blend that a little bit better. So they're pretty colors. I just don't think I like it with this stitch pattern. So very pretty colors, but again, it's how wide you make your project of how these stitches are going to look when they change colors. Again, if this is a wider project, are these colors here going to go completely across your project? And I just not sure why they didn't make the colorways just a little bit longer in between. So that is the sample of the Fuchsia Ombre. Now I do want to show you a photo of a blanket that I made out of the Red Heart Ombre in that pink colorway. This is what it looks like. And you can see how the Red Heart yarn has enough to make wider stripes with those color changes. You can go to the search box on my channel and type in Ripple Ombre blanket and this pattern tutorial will come up. Hopefully you can see that. It's a very pretty blanket. Now the next colorway is Fern Ombre. This is color 2141-08. So you can see those beautiful colors. Now my next sample, I decided to start a granny square because everybody loves a granny square. And I thought, I wonder what it looks like if you're crocheting in the round. So I thought this was pretty. The only thing I did not like was, where did this short speck of dark color come from? Why is that there? Did not like that. If this was not there, this would be the perfect ombre blending out to the darker colors. But I did not like that spot of dark green in the center of my square. And it's just such a short burst of color. And then you can see how it happens again up here, but it's not as noticeable up here because it's blended with these colors. So not sure why that's there, but up here it looks fine mixed with those other colors. Now this isn't a real big granny square, but at least it gives you an idea of what that looks like. And then I just want to compare it to the Red Heart Super Saver. Now the Red Heart Super Saver is called Green Apple. And then the Just Yarn in the color Fern Ombre is over here. It's a lighter color. So you can see the darker color in the Red Heart Super Saver. Premier Ombre is the lighter color. So you can see how they look. Now here's another blanket that I crocheted up. Now this was made using the Green Apple in the Red Heart Super Saver Ombre. Just shows you how that looks worked up. And again, I have the crochet tutorial for the Granny Ombre blanket on my YouTube channel. You can check out that tutorial, and it's just a fun pattern, and it's just so pretty with those ombres. So there it is again. Now I have 3 more colors to show you, and then I do want to get into what I really think of the yarn. Now the next color, I only ordered 1 skein because gray is not my color. This is called Teal Ombre, where it's grays. You can see that dark gray, light gray, medium gray. I don't have a Red Heart to compare it to, so I'm just going to show you my sample. Now this one wasn't too bad. I did like the way the grays blended together. I see no color that looks out of place on this sample. It just has a beautiful blending of colors. So that's what I mean. Some colors look totally different than the other colors depending on the shades that they used. And like I said, that burgundy had a very beautiful blending to it, and so does this gray. I thought this would make a beautiful sweater if you like those neutral colors. Very pretty. And this again was the double crochet V-stitch. The next color is Teal Ombre. So let's turn that over. You can see those colors. And then this sample, I did the cross your stitches pattern again. Now, I only done enough so you can see how the colors blend together. And again, this one, it's not too bad. It's not too bad, but you can see how it goes from dark, and then that's just, this is so wide, and then this is so short, and then you go into the wide, the short, and then you're going back into that dark. So I'm just not sure why they done that. I mean, I know that they're trying to create an ombre effect, but this, just in my opinion, and remember, this is just my opinion. I'm not nitpicking. It's just what I think when I see the yarn, is I just wish these sections would have been wider, and I wish they would have had like another color to blend these two a little bit better. And that again is the Cross Your Stitches, Stitch of the Week number 142. And then I did want to compare it to the Red Heart Super Saver. Now the Red Heart Super Saver is called Deep Teal, and the Premier Ombre is called Teal Ombre. So again, you can see the difference. The Red Heart has a little bit darker, a little bit brighter. These are more softer, maybe faded colors. So you can see the difference. The next color is Violet Ombre. Look how pretty that one is. Look at those colors. Now this sample, I decided to use the moss stitch. I thought it had a beautiful look. Here it is. It just blends really pretty together. And then these colors are just going to repeat. So I don't have any Red Heart Super Saver to compare this to, but that is the Premier Just Yarn Ombre in the color Violet Ombre. And again, that is what it looks like done in the moss stitch. Very pretty. The next color is Salmon Ombre, color 2141-02. So that's the color. And then this one I also worked up in the Cross Your Stitches, Stitch of the Week number 142. So that's what it looks like worked up. Now this sample is another one that, because it's a narrow sample, because the stitches are higher, you can really see those color changes. So my opinion with the colors like this, you may want to use shorter stitches or a different stitch pattern like the moss stitch, where it's going to blend together a little bit better. You can see how the colors blend better with that moss stitch than with the higher stitches. And again, that's just my opinion, but I just don't like these stark color changes, especially if they're in the middle of the row. And you don't want to have to keep cutting your yarn to get it color controlled either. And that is what the Salmon Ombre looks like, which are peach colors. So I don't have a Red Heart Super Saver to compare that to. I only had a few skeins in my stash. Now I have one more of the Premier Ombres to show you, and this is color Sea Glass Ombre. And this is the one I forgot to work up. I didn't realize I didn't work it up. But I do have a Red Heart Super Saver that I will compare it to. This one is called Spearmint. This is the Red Heart Ombre in Spearmint. And this is the Premier Just Yarn Ombre in the color Sea Glass Ombre. So you can see how they look. This is more lighted, more softer, and this is a little more brighter colors. So that's the difference. And sorry, I don't have a sample to show you. Now, my overall opinion of the yarn is the yarn does have a rough feeling to it. It is comparable to Red Heart Super Saver. They both have that same feeling. So if you've used Red Heart Super Saver, then you can expect about the same type of feel to it. It has that little bit of roughness, and I think because the yarn was twisted so tightly, I think that's what gives it that little bit of roughness. Now, I have used the Just Yarn before. When you wash it and dry it with fabric softener, it does soften up a little bit. So the roughness is there. And you need to expect that in some of the value yarns, because they're trying to make them more inexpensive. They're trying to give you a little bit more yardage. And sometimes when you buy the more inexpensive yarns, you get that little bit of roughness to the yarn. Now the Premier Ombre is $6.99 a skein, which the yardage is, it's wonderful price for the yardage. The Red Heart Super Saver Ombre is usually $9.49 at Joann's. It's on sale right now for $7.99. So you have to compare, you know, which brand you like best based on the price or how you see these yarns worked up. And then I have one more ombre to compare these yarns to. Now, I know of 4 different ombres, and I don't have any of the Karen ombres here in the big Karen jumbo ombres that they have. I have seen them at Joann's. I never tried them, so I cannot give you my opinion on those, but I can give you my opinion on the 3 ombre brands that I have here. Now, the next brand is Yarnspiration's Karen Colorama Halo. Now, you can see these have gradient colors. I love this brand of yarn. I love how this works up. I love the softness. Now, this yarn sells for $11.99 regular price. It is on sale for $9.99 at Joann's. So I just want to show you a couple colors in the Karen Colorama Halo, because I bought it when it was like this, and then they changed it to where they took these and they turned them into cakes, and I like it either way. The cakes are a little bit nicer, but I liked it either way. These are easier to store. But you can see how you can see the gradient colors changing. Love it. Here's the pink one. Here's the green one. And I am working on several projects with this yarn. Now, it will be a while before I get them done, but I will give you a sneak peek when I get further along. Now, my opinion of the Premier Ombre yarn. Now, everyone knows that I am an affiliate of Premier. I love Premier yarns. I really do. I love them. I promote them. I'm going to use this yarn, but I have to say I was slightly disappointed. Maybe a little more than slightly disappointed. I wish that they would have used the Premier Basic base for the yarn. So let me just show you the difference between the two. I would have rather paid a little more money for the yarn and had a softer, more plump yarn base. So when you look at the 2 yarns together, the top one is the Just Yarn. You can see how tightly that's woven. And down here is the Premier Basics. So you can see the Premier Basics is more plump. It's more squishy. I think people would have been happier paying a little more money, even if they got less yardage, having the little bit softer yarn, because there is a difference between the Just Yarn and the Premier Basic. I think they would have been happier with the Premier Basics. And I don't mean to criticize, I'm just giving my opinion, so please don't get mad at me for giving my opinion, because I do love Premier yarns. But with this one, I think they missed the mark a little bit. I think they missed the mark with how the yarn was spun. They should have went with the plumper, little bit softer Premier Basic base. I think some of the way the colors were put together with the long bursts and then those really short ones, I wish they would have reconsidered that and thought about people who, I'm an Afghan maker. Most of my designs, I love making Afghans. That's what I made throughout my career, were Afghans. And it's usually the #1 thing people make with yarn are Afghans. And you need that longer color burst in those ombre colors, have those colors blend a little bit nicer. Some of them I just did not like the way the colors transitioned. Some of them I thought they were perfect, but it's all in what you like. So my taste would be different than your taste. You may enjoy the way the colors went together and transitioned. Some of them I just didn't like. I can't help it. Now, giving it a rating of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 5. Some of them, I'm going to go 50-50 on this, because I'm telling you, when I first started using it, I was concerned about the feel of the yarn, and then I was concerned about some of the color, how they transitioned into each other, and then the softness is important to me. So I know people are looking for value, but if you're making a blanket and the yarn is rough and you're sitting there and then you have to wash it with fabric softener in order to soften it up, that's after the fact. You're still sitting there crocheting with the yarn that may be rough on your hands. Now, out of all the yarns I showed you, I have to tell you that for softness and for price, I have to say my favorite is the Caron Colorama. It's a little bit fuzzy. Some people might not like the fuzziness. I like that. I like the softness. I like the feel, and I loved the color transitions between the colors. Because if you really look close, it's really hard to see those color changes because they blend so beautifully together. Now, my second preference was the Red Heart Super Saver, because I like the longer color lengths in the Red Heart Super Saver ombres. It just helps transition those colors, especially when you're making a larger Afghan. You need those longer colors in the transitions. So my second choice would be Red Heart Super Saver. And Premier, I'm sorry, but you come in third, because you could have had an amazing yarn, because a lot of people with Red Heart Super Saver, it's a rougher yarn. If you would have just put a little more effort into making a softer ombre than Red Heart Super Saver, you might have had a winner, and you didn't do it. You could have used your Premier basic yarn and had that nice plump plush ombre colors, but you didn't. So again, it's all in what you prefer, not what I prefer. This is just my opinion. I'm giving you my opinion based on what my samples look like, and if you do a different stitch pattern, your samples might look different and the colors might transition better than what my samples did. But I just wanted to show you what some stitch patterns look like in this yarn. I wanted to give you a more in-depth of what I felt working with the yarn. And I did work up 9 skeins and showed you samples, so I was working with it for 2 days. So that is my opinion. Again, please do not get upset with me. It's my opinion only. And I did exactly what I tell everybody not to do. I ordered over $200 worth of this yarn because I was so excited about it. And I have to say it did fall a little short of my expectations, but I will use the yarn in some designs. So anyone who purchased this yarn, you're going to have a couple patterns coming so you can use that yarn up. But overall, it's up to you to decide what you think of this yarn when you get it. If you have gotten the Premier Ombre, then please leave your opinion in the description box underneath the video so they can get not only my opinion, but your opinion. And that way it helps people make a better decision of the yarns they buy. So thank you everybody for stopping by today. I hope you enjoyed the video, and until next time, stay inspired and happy crocheting. Bye everyone.